What is up, YouTube? It's Grinch, and in front of me I have the brand new for 2022 Avatar, Toruk Makto, and Tree of Souls set, and we're gonna do a review of it. Now, this set was released on August 1st for the price of $150 US. The build contains 3 main sections, including the Tree of Souls, a brick-built Leonopteryx named Toruk, and a really nice suggestion for a terrain section. This set also comes with 4 minifigures and a molded dire horse figure. Altogether, this set contained 1,212 pieces, and for those that care, it has a price to part ratio of 10.7 cents per piece. Let's start by taking a closer look at my favorite part, the Tree of Souls. The Tree of Souls is definitely a highlight of the build, and man does it pop out on display. The base of the build featured some great details, and it uses a lot of light aqua elements to capture the tree's iconic glowing roots. This is the first time this curved tile piece, this root piece, and this clip have all appeared in this light aqua color. There's also a new monkey kid handle piece in glow-in-the-dark white, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. There's also a small play feature that is suggested here where you can actually place Jake in the tree and have the roots surround him, just like you see in that scene in the movie. The main trunk of the tree has nice detailing, and it uses one of the fence pieces from Jurassic World in a reddish brown color to capture some winding root detailing. It splits off into 4 main branches that make up the canopy of the tree. The canopy is detailed with a lot of plant leaf elements in a lavender color. The leaf pieces are then decorated with a lot of trans pink bars, cones, and antenna pieces. This is a new color for these antenna pieces in this trans pink. This is my favorite part of the build, but as expected, these leaf pieces actually tended to get a little bit repetitive when I was building it. Nothing too terrible, nothing that I didn't actually expect, but it does take a little bit away from the building experience for me. But otherwise, it wasn't too bad. It was nothing, like the Lego roller coaster or something like that, where it was very, very repetitive. The second build is a terrain structure that features a lot of mini builds for different floral and foliage pieces. There are a lot of great colors for the Lego foliage pieces that we typically just get in greens or off greens, and it's great to get them in other colors here as well. The left and the right side of this main build can be pulled off the main structure, as well as attached and then rotated in and out so you can get different looks in different positions. There's a nice arch that is built into the terrain feature, and that helps add some height into the background as well. You can also see here that there are a few glow-in-the-dark pieces on this portion of the build as well, and there are these dish pieces as well as minion crown pieces here too. This is a new for 2020 support piece that is seen here in clear. This is a much needed piece as it allows you to create or suggests that there's a floating island here, which was very prevalent in the movie. You can also see that this floating island has a suggestion of roots coming out from under it, and that's a nice touch. There's an axle at the top of it, which I will get into in just a second. Overall, this terrain structure though is great, and it's nice to see LEGO go all out on a terrain build. When it's all said and done, this is a highly detailed, secondary structured, and a fun building experience that adds a lot of depth and structure to this build, and it also really helps this become more of a display piece and a play piece, but I really like just having this rock structure build in the background of the main build here of the tree, and then what we'll get into next is Toruk Makto. This terrain feature just adds kind of that secondary depth of field that you need, and it allows it to just be something unique and cool looking on display. I mentioned I'd show you what the tree and terrain feature looked like in the dark, so here you go. As you can see, it looks quite cool, but the glow in the dark, if you haven't seen this before, it does begin to fade after a while, and you really aren't ever gonna look at this set unless you make yourself look at this set in the dark like I just did. Otherwise, these pieces aren't really gonna pop on their own. It's a nice touch, but it's nothing too crazy. Don't get your hopes too sky high that this is anything revolutionary. It's just that typical glow-in-the-dark Lego experience that we've had before. Somewhat forced, something that you have to do in order to get anything from it by turning off the lights, and you just never really use your Lego in that facet. The last main build of this set is what's known in universe as a Leonopteryx. This one specifically known as Toruk, and he plays a pivotal role in the movie towards the end. You can see the color scheme here is very accurate to the movie, and it's comprised of a red, yellow, orange, and blue coloring scheme. The head of Toruk is 2 separate molded pieces, and I like that they decided to use a mold here instead of making this brick built, as I think they were able to capture some of the really important shaping and details of Toruk's head that they wouldn't have been able to capture otherwise, and I think it would have just made this whole thing look kind of funky. The head also features a new piece that represents the Navi's Kuru, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, sorry if I mispronounced that, or the connection point that the Navi can make with the animals in this world. Here's how you can actually hook up the Navi minifigures using their hairpiece in this new Kuru piece. The bulk of the body actually works really well as a handle, and that makes this beast surprisingly swooshable. You can use it as a nice handle and swoosh it around in the air as you play with it, or just like I do every once in a while, pick it up off of the display and give it a good swoosh. There's also some movement in the back legs, and they can only move off this one axle here. That means you can move the legs up and down, out to the side, but that's about it. You can't move any other parts of the leg other than the claws, but that doesn't really make much of a difference for me outside of maybe just repositioning it for some specific displayed pieces or whatever look you're looking for. Looking at the back of Toruk, you can see the saddle or the seat where you can actually place the minifigure and then make that Kuru connection that I was talking about. The back of Toruk also uses some stickering for details, and these are actually the only stickers that are used in this set, which is nice, but I actually really like them here. I think they add some much needed details and are well used. It really helps blend in these really detailed wings with the rest of the body, and it would look kind of funky, I feel like, if these were not here, so I'm glad that they used them. Now let's discuss what I think is the worst part of this set, the wings. Now before I really get into the material, let's just quickly discuss the wings movement. You can see here that there's quite a bit of movement that you can achieve with these wings, and there's 2 main sections of the main wings that are made up by 2 flexible plastic pieces. You can see that you can actually move the wing in and out by adjusting the claw piece here, and then you can get quite a range of motion for the wingtips that is also up and down. You can move this is all a Technic frame that allows you to move it up and down as well. There's also a joint that's attached to the main body, and that allows you to move the entire wing not only up and down, but also a full 180-degree rotation. That allows you to create some pretty cool positions, such as this one that is suggested on the back of the box. However, I feel like this came at the expense of having stronger and better actual wing pieces, and you can see here this movement is achievable because you can kind of bend and rotate these wings in ways that, it doesn't really bulk up on itself, and it kind of allows you to get these adjustable, more flexible positions in, but honestly, I would have much rather preferred better wings. There are 2 other wings on the back of Toruk that allows for his iconic shaping. These small winglets have a nice streamlined look off the back, and you can also move these up and down to create whatever position that you're looking for, but only up and down. I'm not too big of a fan of the wings, like I said. They feel cheap. They're made out of this plasticky, thin sheet material, and to be honest, I think that, really the only benefit of having them is that you can get kind of some of these funny, weird rotations out of them, and you can get a lot more detailing in the actual print. You can see one of the better parts about these wings is how detailed the prints are here, and I don't think that they would have been able to achieve that through their typical plastic molding that they do. Personally, though, I would have much rather have liked to see something like the Pteranodon molding, where it's just kind of that, mixed tie-dye, mixed plastic effect, where it's just kind of weaved in and out of one another. It's never exactly the same pattern. It's just kind of mixed molded. I would have been fine with that. I also would have been fine with something like the Smaug wings with some other kind of printing, weaved in and out of them. I think those smile wings were great. Maybe you might not have been able to get this total motion that you can get from these, or all the detail and beauty that was put into the pattern on these wings. So there's always going to be some give and take here with whichever wing design that you use, either mobility, either the printing that you could get on there. But for me, overall, I think these wings just detract from this Lego experience for me. The rounded pieces that are holding them in also kind of stick out. You do get used to it after a while, I will say, and I do think it actually looks better in person than on the box. And when I first saw images of this, I thought it actually might ruin this set for me, but it really doesn't. It's really not as bad as you would think, or as bad as you think through the images. The only other downfall though with the wings is if you look at the wings from the other side, you can also see, this Technic skeleton is exposed, and that also kind of takes away from the look and the display ability for me. But the rest of this set is so good, and it's definitely something I'm able to look beyond in this case. It does not ruin the set at all for me. One thing though that I really actually dislike, and I'm kind of surprised about this, or maybe I shouldn't be, but I was surprised about this, is you can see the tips of my winglets are actually starting to bend, and that's just due to them being this little plasticky sheet, and that really kind of takes away from this display ability for me. And I hope that the wings don't continue to bend like this over time and get worse. I'm okay with them right how they are right now, but the back of the box makes them look really nice and kind of perfectly straight. I knew that wasn't quite true, but this is a little bit worse than what I was anticipating and expecting. That might be a nitpick for some, but it definitely kind of detracts from this build for me. The last part of this build I wanted to really highlight was the floating island on the terrain. It features this axle pin that I pointed out earlier, and you can actually use this to attach Toruk to. That looks pretty darn good, and it's a great way to display the set. This itself might make up for the plasticky crappy wings in my opinion. It doesn't, but it almost does. It's just a really nice way to display this, and I hope Lego continues to build in these type of little display features in these builds as they kind of tend to cater more towards, or try to cater more towards their adult fans as well. I think this is a great way to do that, and I'm really glad that they included it in this set. Now let's take a closer look at the Dire Horse. This single molded piece represents a horse-like creature from Pandora known as a dire horse. This mold captures all 6 legs here, and like Lego horses, there's this traditional opening that allows you to stand a minifigure up in it. Like Toruk, this dire horse also has that new Kuru piece that allows you to connect the dire horse to the Navi minifigures as seen in the movie. I'm glad that they did a molded piece here, because I think this is way too small to do anything brick built with. However, there's no movement in this mold whatsoever. Even the modern Lego horses have some head movement as well as some back leg movements. Shoot, even the old Lego horses had that head movement. It wasn't until 2012 that they introduced the leg movement, and I really wish they had some sort of movement here just to give some action from the dire horse, because right now you cannot move anything. Last but certainly not least, we have the minifigures. This set included 4 minifigures, and you can see from left to right here, the minifigures featured in this set are Jake Sully in his avatar form, or specifically his Toruk Makto form, Neytiri, Moat, the spiritual leader, as well as Sutse, the tribal princeling. Let's start by taking a closer look at Jake Sully. All of these minifigures use the larger legs and larger armed torsos. The legs are an entire brick length taller than the standard minifigure legs. The torso is the same size, but the arms are much longer to be more proportional with the longer legs, and the figure's head is also just a plate taller than the traditional minifigure head. And in a first for Lego, it contains some actual earpieces that are built into the headpiece itself. If I remove the hair here, you can see that the ears are still, they're part of the head. It's not like the elf minifigure hair earpiece combo where they were built into the ears. This is actually built into the head. This version of Jake is representative of Toruk Makto from the movie, and this minifigure features the standard sand green printed cloth leg. This version of him also features his war paint ready for battle, you can see that there's some nice but simple detailing here that helps give this figure some depth. The back of the figure also features a light blue tail piece. That's the same tail piece that Speedy Gonzalez had in the collectible minifigures series. It's that mouse tail, but in light blue. And the back of the hairpiece also features this bar connection, like I showed you, that allows you to make that Kuru connection. Neytiri has the same pieces as Jake, but with some different prints for the torso and a different hairpiece, as well as a face print. Her leg printing is that same sand green cloth printing, but the torso print has a nice necklace looking print that I think looks really good. The back of the torso also just has a single kind of strap built onto it outside of that, avatar torso detailing. And you can see here that our hair pieces has kind of this multiple, dreaded look coming down. And then to that, bar piece again, all of these minifigures have this little bar piece on where they can make that Kuru connection. So you don't just have to use Jake for that, you can use any one of these minifigures. Moat's minifigure is the most clothed minifigure in the bunch, and she features her spiritual robes that are seen in the movie. She also has these dark red arms to go along with it, and it's kind of a nice contrast from the other minifigures that we see in this set. I wish though that they had used a dark red piece for her torso versus this light blue outlining with dark red printing on it, because from my understanding this robe actually wrapped all the way around the shoulders and the sides and around her top, so I think that would have been a better look. This kind of light blue bleeds through here. It's a little bit distracting for me, and it just kind of, I just think this red, if this was all dark red, it would have looked much more complete. The torso robe printing though is continued on the back of the minifigure here, and you can see that she actually uses that same hairpiece as Neytiri. Suitsei is the last minifigure in this set, and I think they did a really good job capturing his likeness in minifigure form. I think his head printing, his face printing is quite excellent. He's got a small little braid coming off of one side. It kind of makes him look like a little Padawan, and his torso print has that tribal kind of garb as well as that necklace that he wore in the movie. His leg prints use that same print as Moat and features a dark tan printed cloth. On his back, you can see he has a continuation of the printing from the front of his torso to kind of make that look complete. Lastly, I've included a standard minifigure here. Note that this one's not included in this set. I just wanted to give you an idea of how much taller and larger these Avatar minifigures are compared to the regular minifigures. They really tower over the minifigures quite nicely, and it looks pretty good, when you have regular minifigures mixed in and some of the other sets that we'll get to down the line. Overall, I really enjoyed this set, and it definitely represents the movie really well. It's a great kind of large flagship, most expensive set in the wave. I really enjoyed the building experience, and the Tree of Souls is my favorite part of the set altogether. I also like how this set was focused on the terrain, that surrounds the tree, and I like how they really attempted to capture the flora of Pandora, and it looks really good as an end product. The wings on Toruk definitely need some work, but they really aren't as bad as I initially thought they would be when I first saw images of this set. Definitely am a little bit disappointed with how these wingtips are already starting to bend over, and I hope that doesn't get any worse with time. I'm really crossing my fingers on that. Otherwise, I think that these wings kind of make up for what they lack in that Lego feel with all the details that they're able to capture. I don't think that they could have captured the details in this wing any better, so they do look a little bit better on display than I initially thought that they would. So if you're on the fence about this set, don't let the wings hold you up too much. This is a great set to start the collection, and I'd say overall the building experience was a solid 4.5 out of 5. The playability is definitely a 5 out of 5. Toruk's got good mobility. You can set this up in different ways. There, everybody that you kind of need is here. I think maybe the only thing, if I was really nitpicking, is maybe a couple more minifigures, maybe some bad guys in here so you can actually kind of recreate that end battle scene. Displayability for me is a 4.5 out of 5. It's good. Like I said, that curving on the wingtips I really don't like, and then those few issues I have with the wings in general kind of detract from that, but otherwise it's near perfect. The value for the money, I'd say, is a 4 out of 5. I would have liked to seen this set just for a little bit less money, or for the same price with maybe a little bit more bulk to the wings, maybe a little bit better, more premium wing design. Would have been totally fine spending that, but overall, can't complain about the price. It's 2022. Overall, this set comes out to a 4.5 out of 5. Pretty darn great, with a couple of flaws in the wing designs, but almost perfect for me as a set in general. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and joining in the conversation in the comment section below or on Discord. Let me know if you agree with me, and do the wings really take away from this? What do you think about these wings? If you built this set, I'm curious to know your comments in the comment section. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.